tattoo parlour, body piercing shop at the end of the Headlands. The tattoo parlour body piercing thing, the body piercing is quite important because there's a load of things I need to explain concerning their tribalism and some of them having piercings, being surgically sub-incised. It's a long story that I'll leave for a later video. Once again on the Headlands, making my way back towards town. Short video. So I'm limping along in pain, and I've just left the Headlands, and this is the day after the videos I made just a couple of days ago. So I'm back on the Headland, off the Headlands, back onto Station Road by Lotus Court. Now remember what I mentioned in the other video concerning the lotus flower being a symbol of fertility, and for their Nazi occultist fertility rites they were partaking in all types of debauchery, BDSM movies linked to the surgical exploitation of their victim. There's a hospital on top of the hill where they had the bogus arthrogram procedure take place. I've come back down there to document two other things that I missed out in the other video. One is Stagecoach, the bus station across the road, which probably doesn't wield much significance at the moment, but it will do in future videos when I explain how they work as a cluster group. And it's a long story that I'll come to in the future for a future video. But Stagecoach is of major importance, in as much the bus stop at Sovereign House. Now, when I lived at the block of flats at Lotus Court, about 3 years into being tortured, I arrived on my 30th birthday. Straight away they had me tapped, they had my leg damaged, with Dr. John Hart on the Headlands, and then in the 2010 to 2011, my ex's eldest daughter, potentially my eldest daughter, was brought up here in a Peugeot 406 in parts by where that bus stop is there. That's Sovereign House across the way there. So that second house there's called Sovereign House. That's the block of flats at Lotus Court, where I lived in the top floor flat. So I had a direct view of what went on when they brought her up here in the Peugeot 406 from Hart, and they parked there. Sovereign House for the Summer Sanctissimus, Most Holy Baphometed King Rex X, Dixon with his X-rated pornography, and John Bacon on the bowling green. Dixon and Bacon in collusion. Gary Dixon, Gary Palmer, with his alias names, along with John Bacon, Cassandra Tebbert, John Morrison, his cousin, etc., etc. A lot of bad things happened at that block of flats, and some of the things that happened involved the pornography making, the pornography that was amassed. And somehow, I will explain this because in the future, I lived in Hertfordshire for 6 years, and that's where the ancestral home of Viscount Francis Bacon, first Earl Baron Bacon of Verulam St Albans, is from, and that's why I had a lot of problems with the Bacons and the Dixons in Hertfordshire, because that's where Dixon's Group's headquarters are based. Dixon's PLC, the Buncefield Industrial Estate, Hemel Hempstead, and Wilmot Dixon and Home Group are based at Letchworth Garden City. Wilmot Dixon Group, Letchworth Garden City, Hart. So for the 6 years that I lived in Hertfordshire, I had problems of the same group of people. And then there's Havering, where we all grew up between the 80s and the 90s. So Havering's connected to Kettering, and it's triangulated with Hart, and that's how you get Dr. John Hart involved with John Bacon on the Headlands. So what's happened is that basically they've got background information on me. They know my ex. One of them's had an affair with my ex. They know my oldest daughter. They've had her brought up here, parked in a Peugeot 406 when she was about 12, 13 years old. There wasn't much that I could do about it at the time. Obviously I'm disabled, plus I was being harassed in the block of flats. They've been shooting rifles at me in the flat. They've been kicking my door in. They'd had me assaulted in the town centre, my jaw fractured. Plus plus there was just a lot of things going on that I will mention in a future video. But the reason Stagecoach is of significant importance is because of offences of a racially motivated nature that were committed back in London that I won't go into right now, that I will save for a future video.